Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me for the seventh episode of We Jobs. Today, I'm joined by Evan Nison, the president and founder of NisonCo. He also sits on the board of NORML. And join me in welcoming Evan, guys. What's up, Evan? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you, man. Thanks a lot for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. So Evan, you founded NisonCo, and that is a PR firm for cannabis companies. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. We do our core competencies is public relations and SEO, search engine optimization. And we're the eminent firm within cannabis. We used to say we were cannabis specific. Now we say we're cannabis focused. We do work with other industries now, but about 80 to 90% of our business is cannabis.
Oh, that's awesome, man. How long has your PR firm been in existence?
So I actually started the firm accidentally. 2013, I believe, was our first client under that entity. And then it grew organically for the first few years, 100% by word of mouth. And now we have about 25 employees, including a business development department.
That's incredible. When you say by accident, how does one start a PR firm by accident and grow it into a company with 25 employees?
So in college, I actually spent most of my time lobbying on drug policy for free as a lobbyist, just because I thought the drug war needed to end. And I got one of the pens used to sign the New York medical marijuana law and the New York 9/1 Good Samaritan overdose prevention law when I was in college. And then as soon as I graduated college, um, I was hired by a cannabis company. It was just as Colorado was going live. Their industry was going live. I was hired by a company to actually lobby for a bill, a legislative bill that I was supporting for free already in New Jersey, which was industrial hemp legalization. And during that campaign, I wound up sending them so many reporters as well that they referred me out to other companies, and those clients referred me out to other companies, and that's how it started. Basically, it was accidental. It
Oh,
wasn't even our first client. Wasn't even a PR client. It was a lobbying client.
gotcha. So you just had a way with the media, and you kind of leveraged that skill into starting your company.
Yeah, exactly. I learned media relations really like holding press conferences and state houses with medical marijuana patients and things like that. Um, they're these are wrapped up right now, but this is one of the penalties in the New York medical marijuana law, and this is one of the penalties in the New York legalization law. So I got my college degree, but I spent more of my time lobbying than in class.
Gotcha. And you went to school in New York?
In Ithaca, New York. Yep.
Okay. Did you grow up in New York as well?
New Jersey. Actually, in the
Okay.
house that I'm in now.
Gotcha. That's cool, man. What part of New Jersey?
East Brunswick, Central.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I know that area. I went to Rutgers, so I've been
Oh, cool.
spent quite a lot of time up in New Brunswick and then over that way.
Nice. Yeah, New Brunswick's 15 minutes from me. So,
That's cool, man. And so you got your start. You've been in the cannabis industry since you were in college up until now.
yeah, I started technically before there was a recreational industry, um, back when it was theoretical. So yeah, yeah, I was there. I remember the day that it was legal, and I took a semester off of college in 2010 to help run Prop 19. And we were almost the first campaign to legalize marijuana in 2010. We got 46.5% of the vote. But that campaign did help really change the conversation about legalization. Like we started calling it cannabis rather than marijuana, and putting like mothers and police and judges in front of cameras, and starting to talk about really the harms of prohibition.
That's excellent. While you were fighting those battles and lobbying, did you ever feel like you were in an impossible fight?
Yes, I remember the day before Colorado's vote. I was like sitting, actually, ironically, at a local bar in Ithaca, New York, the Ithaca Brewery. And I was just like, I think cannabis is gonna be legal tomorrow in Colorado. Like, I think they're actually gonna like do this. I was like, but they can't. It's not possible. Something always happens to stop it. Like, it's just something that is not possible to achieve. Um, so yeah, it was pretty cool.
So when it finally passed, I'm sure you felt like uh, I don't know if it was like excitement, relief, or like how did you feel in that moment?
Well, there was a series of victories, so to speak. There was that night where Colorado and Washington like legalized, and we had the first legal states, and that was an international victory for sure. And then most recently, we had New York and New Jersey legalized, which I was very happy about because these are my home states, so I felt like another victory. And then hopefully the next victory will be Congress, federal level, and then the UN, because we still need both of those to act. But so we haven't fully won yet, but I do think we successfully changed the conversation from if cannabis will become legal to when
Yeah,
nationally.
and that was you can definitely tell the shift in people's attitudes and what's going on now.
Yeah.
Uh, are you a part of the lobbying efforts to get it federally legalized?
NORML, which I'm the vice chair of, is very heavily involved in the congressional efforts. We have staff and lobbyists and things that are more involved in the day to day than I am. But NORML's very, very, very heavily involved, and we're right in there working with all of the main players on a regular basis.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about NORML and the work that you do there?
Yeah, so NORML stands for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. We are the best known cannabis legalization nonprofit. We're also the longest lasting. We're not the first legalization or advocacy group, but we are, I believe, the only one that started in the 70s that still exists. I'm the youngest, not by far, but it's definitely a sort of OG organization in the cannabis space, and it sort of helped shape the movement from the get go. Our role is 100% consumer advocacy focused and grassroots. So while we do have lobbyists and paid staff, a lot of the paid staff, their focus is on working with volunteers and grassroots networks and supporting grassroots networks around the country, mostly, but around the world also.
Gotcha. And if someone wanted to join NORML, how would they go about doing that?
Go to our website, norml.org, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. So it's like normal without an A, the way you would normally spell normal. And we make it nice and easy to sign up. We can also connect you to local chapters and activists to get involved in your state or local government advocacy.
Okay. And what's your role there currently?
I'm the vice chair of the national organization.
Okay. And what do your duties entail?
So since we're a large organization, we have a full-blown staff. The board meets quarterly, and we basically make sure everything is going smoothly. We help advocate whenever we can using all of our resources. Like I use my PR team to help as an example. So we're really there to make sure that the organization is going the right direction and supporting the staff however we can. The staff is they're the ones who actually run the organization
Okay.
on the day-to-day on the day-to-day.
Gotcha. And are always hiring?
We have been growing pretty quickly. I mean, you could definitely send resumes, and you have a high. I don't know what your chances of getting a job are because we get a lot of applications. But yeah, we're growing for sure.
That's great. Yeah. So guys, if you want to be a part of cannabis advocacy, just listen to what Evan has said and check out the NORML website. I wanted to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say my PR firm actually is hiring many positions right now for people who are interested in that. We have PR account coordinators, PR account managers, SEO account coordinators, sales, and marketing. So we have tons of opportunities over at NisonCo.com for jobs.
Okay, great. I'll be sure to add that link to your website and the job board in this description. We always appreciate that, man. At We
Yeah.
Jobs.
Oh, he is. Yeah. I forgot we had this because we rescheduled, and I told one of the people that helps us with HR, I was like, oh, actually, we're like looking for people, not desperately, but we're trying to get some people on board quickly. And I mentioned I was doing this, and they're like happy about it. So
That's cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the work that you do at NisonCo. As a president, I'm sure you are quite busy. You know, what's some of the things that you've seen? Actually, what type of work are you helping out your clients with at the moment?
So we have clients, tons of clients and tons of different niches in the industry on the PR and the SEO side with very different goals. So we have MSOs with dispensaries nationally. We have international companies that are working on imports and exports. We have brands, vaporizers, distributors. It's hard to sort of say one specific thing. There's certain things that I think tie everyone in the industry together, which is like almost chasing trends. Every part of the industry sort of has these trends. But other than that, the industry is really getting so mature that it's like its own economy at this point.
Right. So what are some of the trends you see on the consumer side?
I think vape pens are coming back a bit. They kind of took a dip, I think, after the vape crisis. And when people stopped traveling for COVID last year. It seems like I think they're coming back a bit. A lot of dispensaries seem to be transitioning back to like in-person strategies rather than just purely online from COVID. Delta 8 is of course like huge now. I'm not sure if people are aware of Delta 8. It's like a sort of gray area.
Delta 8 is a strain of is a type of THC, right? Where it's legal
Yeah.
and over the normal THC, I guess we would consider.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big trend. CBG is becoming a pretty big trend as well. A lot of the CBD clients that we have are starting to move in the CBG space or the Delta 8 or both.
Could you talk a little bit about CBG?
Yeah, sure. So CBG, it's from what I haven't actually tried it yet. From what I understand, it's much more medical than like Delta 8 as an example. One of our clients is an example. She has a child and CBD helped them and then eventually stopped because of, I guess, a tolerance. And then they added CBG and it started working again as an example. So we're getting, from what I understand from people who really like the medical benefits of CBD, which is not me, I like getting high, speaking frankly. Not that I don't use it medically, depending on your definition medically, but the true medical users really are liking CBG.
Okay, gotcha. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit more about, like the PR profession, just so if anyone's interested in getting involved. What would you say some of the most important skills that you would need to be a PR professional working in cannabis?
So PR is very much about relationships. So managing relationships is really what we look for personally. I actually think that if you can manage volunteer relationships, you can manage reporter relationships very well. It's sort of similar in the sense that you're trying to help each other, but there's no monetary exchange, right? So that's really what we look for. In addition, of course, to being very organized and not letting things slip through the cracks and paying attention to details. But if you're a relationship-based person who understands the nuances of sort of helping each other in a way that is a two-way street, that is, PR could be a really good opportunity for you. Also, if you're very strategic, related to like communication strategies, like timing and the way you phrase things, and the way you phrase things to certain people, that if what I'm talking about right now is getting you interested, then PR might be for you. If not, then there might be other opportunities within a PR firm that could be good. But in terms of like managing accounts and reporters, that's what I'd look for.
Okay, that's great. Now, what do you look for out of a client that you work with?
So that will depend, right? Like what makes a client good and easily pitchable. The first thing that makes a campaign successful is responses. So if we've had clients that hired us and didn't really like respond to us afterwards, and we can't do like, it's hard to get you into news stories if you don't respond to the reporters. So responding is like the first thing. Quick response rates is really what we look for in the first thing in a client, to be honest. Other than that, if you're doing interesting things, that's great. If you have products that you can send out to reviewers or influencers, that helps us a lot. If you are in a position of authority from a thought leadership standpoint, because you're a CEO or you're a lawyer or a consultant or an accountant or something like that, those are really great media representatives for reporters as well. But you don't have to be any of those things. Those just make our job easier.
I got you. So when should a brand or a potential client start to think about hiring a PR firm?
So in terms of, I know you asked about PR, but I'll mention SEO too. SEO, I think really everyone should have. Like if you have a decently sized business, even like a, you know, 1 or 2 retail locations, SEO is very high ROI. Even smaller companies should be doing it, and you should be starting it ASAP because it takes a while to start gaining traction with, but it still is very high ROI. PR should really be reserved for the larger companies that, like I would say, when you're no longer a very small startup. If you're a very small startup, it makes sense to hire a PR firm. If you want to attract investors and look impressive, you know, with media logos and things like that for investors. Other than that, from an actual like company phase standpoint, I would recommend medium or larger. Just because, like I mentioned earlier, you do need the infrastructure to be able to respond to us quickly. You need to be able to have products to send out or people on staff to be able to talk to reporters. And we found that small startups where their, you know, founders also running the company may not have time to sort of do everything they need to.
Okay, gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So, are there any interesting trends that you see going on in the industry right now that you like? You're really a fan of?
That I'm a fan of. That changes everything. I guess I'm a fan of the sustainable packaging. There seems to be a trend towards sustainable packaging. We have sustainable package, a few, well, one main sustainable packaging client, but we have other packaging clients that have sustainable lines. And I like that trend a lot.
Okay. What type of materials are they using?
Sometimes it's hemp, biodegradable hemp. Sometimes it's my favorite is actually reclaimed ocean plastic. So to like get plastic out of the ocean, melt that back down, and then use that.
Okay.
I've seen those for like joint holders. I think that's mostly it. Sometimes it's like biodegradable paper, but usually it's when it's biodegradable, it's hemp.
Okay. Gotcha. What has been your best client, if you don't mind me asking, or the fun or the your most favorite campaign that you worked on?
Well, it's hard to say favorite client. We had a few campaigns. Like we worked on a presidential pardon that was successful. We worked on.
Who was that with? Do you know?
Well, we can't take full credit, but we worked with him with Weldon Angeles.
Okay.
We did a pro bono campaign with him for him. We also did a pro bono campaign with the Mandela family down in South Africa, which was really cool. And a campaign with Cannabis Voter Project, which is a subsidiary of or a project of well, I'm having a blank right now. The Headcount, which is a very big voter registration nonprofit that works with celebrities and things like that, which is cool. So we were able to work with like, we pitched out like some stories with the members of the Grateful Dead and Billie Eilish, encouraging young people to register to vote and things like that.
Oh, that's really awesome. Working with the Mandela family, man, you're on your way, man.
trying to help.
Right. What did that entail? What did you guys work on for them?
I was down in South Africa because they invite. I'm friends with one of the grandsons, and he invited me for the Global Citizen Festival, and we did a fundraiser. We did PR for the fundraiser And for the global, we helped with the Global Citizen Festival. We got press for his grandchildren.
Okay, gotcha. That's cool. So, pitching is very important in PR.
Yes, totally.
How often are you pitching?
Me or my employees? My
Your
employees are pitching
employees.
on a constant basis, every day, all day. I'm not pitching anymore just because I spend most of my time managing the company. I pitch very little, but I mean, hundreds of pitches every single day are going out.
Right. Well, so what do you think are some of the elements of a successful pitch?
Um, Being collaborative, not being too marketing heavy, right? Like if you're too, like reporters are not your marketers. They're not there just to promote your company. They're there to write things that are interesting to their audience. So you really need to be collaborative and work with them and understand that. If you treat them like they're marketers, you're just going to really annoy them and not get coverage or not get good coverage.
Okay. And maintaining relationships with the media is obviously important. Do you have tips for some of our aspiring PR professionals on how to maintain those media relationships?
Regular follow-up, 100%. Like just like I was saying before, you really have to understand how to manage relationships and check in with people in a way that isn't really annoying. So I think in some respects you either get it or you don't. You either have that emotional intelligence. You can learn that emotional intelligence, but it's something that I think you either know or you don't, unless you really want to cheat yourself.
Okay. Do you have any books that you would recommend for someone who wants to get involved in PR or in cannabis?
Um, Business owners, really the best book I have to recommend is for business owners more than employees, and that's Good to Great. Employees should read it. I would recommend employees reading it. But if you're a business owner, you really have to read it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about making companies making good companies great. The transition from being a good company to being a great company.
Gotcha. Do you remember when you hired your first employee?
Yes, well, it was an intern first, and then it was an employee. But I remember both of them for sure.
Okay. Could you tell us about
Yeah.
that story?
Yeah, well, the first was an intern, right? I mean, I just got too busy to I needed an intern. And then by the time I actually turned them employees, I had a little team of interns. I mean, sorry, of contractors. We started as contractors, and then I made everyone W-2, and people were pretty stoked on it, because it's easier for taxes and
Right.
everything. So we started as a little contractor company. And then when it made sense, based on the definition of W-2, we moved over.
Okay. That's cool. And where are you currently based?
Central Jersey.
Okay, you're based in the company's based in East Brunswick as well.
Everyone works from home, so technically it's based where I am, but there's only I think one other person in New Jersey, if that. Yeah, one other person.
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who watched episode 6, Ashish Joseph, the founder of Low Key, the cannabis drink, connected Evan and I. Have you worked with Ashish professionally?
Not yet. We've been exploring ways though. Yeah, we met professionally through a mutual client, I think. And then we've stayed in touch.
Nice. Okay. Do you have any events coming up for NisonCo or for any of your clients that you want to make people aware of in
Not
person or virtually?
us. We do have a virtual mixer. If you Google, NisonCo virtual mixer, we do have a free digital mixer once a month for people in the cannabis industry. So if people want to go on and network, we highly encourage that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so I'll add the link in the description as well for that.
Cool.
It's always great when you can build a community, especially virtually these days. People want
Yes,
to stay
exactly.
connected. Yep. Well, thank you for joining me today, Evan. I know you got to run, but I really appreciate it. Anything you want to say before you get out of here?
No, I mean, if anybody is interested in applying or has questions, definitely hit me up. Appreciate the time. That's what I was doing before when you saw me looking away. I was just telling them that I'd be a few minutes late. So all good. But yeah, no, that's everything I could think of. I encourage everyone to get in the industry, and I'm excited that people are excited about it.
All right, great, man. Thanks a lot, Evan, for joining us today. And that's been episode 7 of Weed Jobs. Have a good one.